Hi, everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of this episode of hashtag Every Rule Matters Roundtable. I am back with Holly Conrad and Adam Davis, and it is so fantastic to see you all again. I'm excited to continue our conversation. I'm going to have you both introduce yourselves one more time, just so that those of you who didn't watch part 1, make sure to go back and watch it, can know who these two lovely people are. We'll start with Adam this time.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Davis. I'm a founder and executive of the nonprofit organization GametoGrow. Uses games of all types for insight, growth, and change, therapeutic, educational, and community growth. We're most well known for our Dungeons and Dragons program, where we have over 120 kids every week, or kids, teens, and adults actually now, every week from all over the world coming to play Dungeons and Dragons in therapeutic social skills groups. You can learn more about that at GametoGrow.org.
Perfect. And Holly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Holly. Holly Conrad on Twitter and wecrowinghens everywhere else. I play D&D and I play Strix in Acquisitions Incorporated, and I am here. Hello. Hi.
And it's lovely to have you here. So we are continuing our theme from last part of social media and anxiety. So I kind of want to kick us off with Holly. You mentioned your anxiety from social media in the first part. How do you use gaming to help with that?
Yeah, I mean, I find that it's easy to take one device and replace it with another. It's something a little bit more healthy, like Animal Crossing. So I find that if social media is getting really overwhelming, or I'm feeling like that tightness of something bad is happening, I can switch over to my more friendly device, the Nintendo Switch, and play some Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley, something like that. I find that those sorts of games help me a lot when it comes to reducing stress. So when it comes to that, like that actual interaction with social media, I'm just like, no, disengage. Time to disengage. Time to get some bells. Here we go.
Absolutely. And Adam, how have you seen applied RPGs used to help anxiety and depression? I know that you, with GametoGrow, have use applied RPGs all the time. So, kind of in your experience with that.
Yeah. So I have 10 years of experience next month.
Wow.
Being a applied game master, using games to help people. So I have a lot of examples of this, and so our age range we work with at GametoGrow, and that I've worked with for the last nearly 10 years, is the entire youth spectrum from around 7 or 8 to emerging adult age, early 20s, and a lot of the participants who have come to GametoGrow groups, not everyone has a diagnosis, and we don't ask anyone to disclose a diagnosis. So we're sort of diagnosis agnostic, in that we want to see people in terms of the rich tapestry of their humanity instead of just a diagnostic criteria from the DSM. So we do have a lot of people, though, that show up with complaints about anxiety or depression coming into an interfering way with the things that they value and the things that they care about. And one of the great things about tabletop games, and we play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, is that there's a continuity, there's a continuation desire. And one of the amazing things about tabletop role-playing games is that your character has an influence on the storyline and what's happening around them. And that can be a really transformative experience for a lot of young people, especially who oftentimes, especially neurodivergent youth that have had their behaviors problematized, they felt very socially isolated and very outcast, that they can join an adventuring party where their presence matters. And then week by week by week, there are days they don't make it through a day of school because of anxiety and depression. They can't make it, but they will come to a Dungeons and Dragons group. They'll come play, and they'll play with other people, and it is social, and it is relational, and it is authentic. And that is so helpful for them, that there are often times even when they can't make it because anxiety or depression was too much that day, the next time they do show up, the other players at the table say, "Hey, where were you last week? We missed you. You're our cleric. We needed a healer." And that experience of feeling like you can contribute, that you have something to offer other people has been so transformative for so many of the participants in our groups. Not to mention the fact that so many of them are playing characters that are aspirational versions of themselves. We talk about this in our training program, but this idea that everyone plays a character for a reason. It's sort of making a character as sort of a blank canvas. It's like an inkblot test, right? We project our subconscious or unconscious thoughts, feelings, and desires onto our characters and then get something out of it, whatever that reason might be. A lot of young people who are struggling socially will sometimes make aspirational characters that are war heroes, generals that are revered by others, who people will listen to them and do what they say, or they'll be a charming rogue or a flirtatious bard or something like that, that will then let them have an opportunity to play out this experience. And that is both of those things, both of those opportunities allow people to feel like they have an impact on the world, and then translate some of those successes from their in-game experiences into their real life, so that when someone is in school and they have a pop quiz show up in their math test that day, instead of flipping over their desk and needing to go to the resource room because they're experiencing anxiety they weren't prepared to navigate and they become dysregulated, we've helped them generate and generalize those kinds of internal regulation capacities that allow them to say, well, if my character can keep it together while escaping a room that is slowly filling up with lava, I think I can handle this pop quiz. This math test is nothing, because Blackdorf totally survived that room that was filling up with lava. And those are the one of the myriad, three of the myriad ways that these games are so helpful in allowing us to navigate our anxiety and depression.
I think that's just incredible, really. Like, and if I think about it, because the character that I play, Strix, is very anxious. She has anxiety, and she manifests that in different ways. But the courage that she shows in things has definitely, like, when I play her, like, definitely translates into real life, if that makes sense. Like, and I can, like, after playing a game where, like, the characters do something really cool, really exciting, or really brave, like, you feel that. Like, you feel that emotion, you feel that bravery. You're like, there's an echo of that left inside of you. And I think that's something that really is why, I mean, one of the reasons why there's such a surge in popularity of D&D, because we as human beings want those feelings, and to have those in these storytelling moments, and translate to real life, and then make our real lives better.
Yes.
Like, it's great. And it's amazing that we can do that now and have it be something that can actually help young people too.
And it's play, which is
Right.
also so good for us.
And so hard. It's so hard for us to do.
Especially for adults to play.
Yeah, it's like impossible. It's like, I got taxes. Like, it's like, no, I should be like just dance or do something. But if you're playing D&D and someone says the bard starts playing a song, your character might be like, yeah, I'm going to dance. And then that brings into, like you talked about, your body. Like, you're reacting it out, which brings your body into it, which helps you get rid of these stuck feelings.
Oh yeah, it is so important, I think, because we can play D&D like by mail. You can do a lot of, you know, you can play by post. There's definitely ways to do that.
Back in the day, we used to have those forums where we would all, like,
BBS, right? There's me showing my age again. But so there's ways to do that, to have the sort of, the story happen, and you're really, in a way, making choices for your character, and it's really asymmetric. But when we really get into really good RPG play, it's happening in the moment. It's simulation is what we're doing, where you feel the reciprocal successes and failures of your character, and you've internalized those, and you can navigate the character's feelings and also keep them externalized enough. We talk about this in the training program too, that, like, we can find that sweet spot where we know our character is outside of ourselves, but we still feel a lot of the feelings of that character. And this feels like this is brand new, right? Like Dungeons and Dragons was written in the 70s, but we as human beings have been navigating learning in social spaces through storytelling, especially repetitive, ritualistic storytelling, since we, crawled out of the ooze. This is like in our DNA to get into circles and tell stories together and to learn and grow through that. And our our nervous systems are set up to experience that in our bodies as if it was happening to us. We can visualize it. One of my favorite examples of this is like, close your eyes. Imagine you are at a grocery store. You're walking through the aisles of the grocery store. You find yourself in the produce section. Oh, there's a big pile of citrus over there. You go find some citrus. You look at the grapefruits. You look at the limes. Oh, you found a lemon. Pick up that lemon. And this is a grocery store where for some reason they have a cutting board and a knife right there. So you're going to go over there and cut this lemon open. You're going to cut the lemon long ways, not short ways. So you might have cut it short ways. Cut it long ways and then cut it long ways again. And then, you know, like we used to do when we were kids, put it in your mouth and take a bite out of it. And you imagine, you visualize that, you're probably salivating right now because your brain is preparing to eat a lemon. And just in like little stories like that, you can physiologically respond to it. You can notice that your mouth is salivating. And the same thing happens when you're experiencing what your character is doing. You feel it. If it happens in your body, that's how we learn how to self-regulate. We learn how to have perspective taking, and all of these other benefits that come from playing these games are because you can. It's so real, it's real because we've attributed so much value to it. I want my character to be successful. I've now invested so much in this that it becomes realer than real because we've made it real.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have lots of feelings about this. This is exciting for me as a drama therapist.
No, it's amazing because it is. And it's like, from like what I've experienced, like in the games I've played, like it's incredible. It really is. And I've gotten the privilege of doing it in front of crowds. So then you have an added, almost like that audience is like extra encouragement. So you're the hero, like on the hill, and they're cheering you on. And that is even more amazing.
Oh man, I do streaming. Sometimes I stream in Clinical Role, which is a stream we do every other week with a bunch of other intentional game masters. And we have an audience there, and it's super fun to have them respond in the chat.
That's so fun. I love that. I really do feel like there is so much potential for like, just for healing when it comes to role playing. I really do.
It is so exciting, and it is really just emerging as far as a field, and it's blowing up. It is becoming very, very popular. We started, myself and Adam Johns, as I mentioned, I think in the last video, the two of us started this, and then maybe I didn't mention it in the last video. I don't know. Anyway, Adam Johns and I started it. I can't remember that. Maybe that was a different video. I spent a lot of time on Zoom. Adam Johns and I founded GametoGrow, and we started hiring people, and we've got 12 employees. We're doing hiring right now. We're going to hire maybe 4 more employees. We're also, because of the training, there's people around the world now who have attended the training program. People who have like pulled all-nighters to attend the training so that they can use intentional tabletop role-playing games in Australia or Malaysia or Ireland.
That's awesome.
And it's so exciting. And it's weird because if it wasn't the coronavirus, we probably wouldn't have expanded so much online. So it's a sort of a silver lining in a way of us all being online, is that we're all super isolated in quarantine, except for we're all so close to each other. Like we are right now able to connect so easily in this platform. And I think that's one of the nice things about the ability we can all play tabletop role-playing games now with anybody in the world. All we have to do is schedule it. We don't have to commute anywhere or deal with any of those things.
It's true.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that comes along with social media and with being so close to everyone is the importance of boundaries. And so, Holly, how do you set your boundaries? And what are your boundaries on social media?
I think I'm honestly still learning them. And I know I don't think it's something that comes naturally to a lot of people. I think especially when you have like very reactionary, like trauma responses to things, I don't think that it comes naturally to set healthy boundaries with things. And I think that's common with a lot of us on social media. It's because we haven't really figured out how to set boundaries. So I feel like I'm still learning, honestly. I think I'm still learning like how to do it, like what proper way, like how much to share so that it's appropriate and so that it's like helping someone with like say mental health help, or say like my experiences of things. And sometimes it doesn't help people and sometimes it does. And I think I'm definitely still learning. I'm still learning that. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay that we're all navigating this together and figuring out our boundaries, because I mean, look at Twitter. It's like now they are just now being like, hey, maybe extremists shouldn't be on here. It's like even they're figuring out their boundaries and they're the ones in charge. So it's kind of like we're in this place where we're still learning. And I think because everyone is so performative, because everyone is so everything needs to be a certain way, there's less room to be like, hey, I might mess up on here. I might say something that's not great. And instead of attacking someone and being cruel to them, be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't have said that. That wasn't great. Or just unfollow them. And we're still learning to have these. I think that's why a lot of the anger shows up, because people are still learning how to deal with this space without getting reactionary, or with setting boundaries, or just being like, I'm just going to unfollow, or they're wrong, but do I need to say something? Does it need to be kind? Does it need to be cruel? You know, it's interesting. And I've realized that, especially like after all the stuff I went through, that there is really no right answer. There's no set rules for how to set boundaries with social media, because someone might overshare or say something and it'll go viral and people will be like, yes, you know, this is great. Or someone might do that and be like, no, you're wrong, but it might be the same thing. So it's very reactionary. So I say just stay safe. If like I came across, it's like I always scroll through Instagram and look at all the mental health posts, because they always do like really nice typography, and I'm like, yes, thank you. So but there was one that said like, every time you want to tweet something, like write it down and read it 3 times. And I don't do that, but I feel like that's what I should do. So that's my goal. That's my goal.
Absolutely. I think that's a great answer. I think everyone should be continuously learning their boundaries and learning how to set them in person and on social media. I think that's definitely something that everyone should learn.
Yeah.
I've been reading a book about setting boundaries. It's something that is like so important for so many factors. And it's like setting external boundaries and setting internal boundaries and setting personal boundaries. And it's, something that we hopefully learn at a young age, but you never really know if you've learned it until someone has stepped into your boundaries. And then you don't know how to respond when they do that, and whether you're comfortable with that, whether you respond by pivoting or whether you respond by pushing back. It's such a complicated feature of our relational space, is how we navigate each other's boundaries. And I think it's one of those things that we need to do a lot of personal reflection on how we navigate those boundaries. And it's one thing to say like, well, people should just have boundaries, but it's like so much more complicated than that. Like, what is a boundary? How do you set a firm boundary? There's a great, phrase, no is a complete sentence. It's a great reminder that we don't have to pivot and fawn when people make requests of us, but also we are a relational species and we have to navigate this in a like fluid way. And so much of it comes down to our internal boundaries as well. Like how do I relate to other people? And where is my personal boundary on what I think is valuable? Where do my values lie? And that, I think, also helps us support setting our external boundaries, because until we kind of know ourselves and know what is real for us and needs to be solidified internally, it's so much harder. So once again, just like the last video, I'm going to advocate people see a therapist, because this is it, like knowing yourself empowers you to set those boundaries so much more successfully because you know yourself.
Yeah. I was going to say self-trust is the keystone of boundaries. And I think that's what's so hard about setting boundaries with social media, because you're getting bombarded with all of these voices and you like in my case, I want to make them happy. I want to appease them. So my self-trust erodes. And so it's unique to everyone how they deal with it, but establishing that cornerstone of self-trust in therapy, I think, is really the only way you can begin to set boundaries in real life or on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
For sure. That kind of turns around and goes to my last question for this half of the episode, turning it to Adam. Do you have any specific boundaries that you have set, or kind of what is your experience with setting boundaries on social media for you?
So my boundaries on social media are, as far as I mentioned earlier, my social media presence. I don't use Facebook anymore, other outside of professional stuff, and my Twitter is still mostly professional. However, I have to set boundaries for myself in terms of how much time I spend on it, because I will definitely, and I partially it's because I worry about what people like and don't like about the things that I do share on social media. But the boundary that I've had to set, that I've had emerging success with, is having my phone in another room, which has meant that I don't get distracted by the notifications, especially when I'm trying to sleep. Because if I go to sleep looking through all of the cool things that other people are doing and being successful at, it will impact my capacity to sleep, not to mention the blue light. But then I'm having my fear of being left out that I talked about earlier, fear of missing out. I'm like being jealous of other people's avatars and not remembering that that's somebody else's avatar, not necessarily their real life. Also, everyone's having so much fun right now. I'm locked down like crazy right now. Like it's not fair to watch other people horseback riding and having fun in Australia, where they are fully opened up, like watching people hang out and do fun things. And that's not good for me to like be exposing myself to those kinds of thoughts, especially right before bed or when I first wake up in the morning. First thing I do when I wake up in the morning, back when I had my phone as my alarm clock, was check my noties. I want to see if anybody mentioned me or likes me. Or
Noties.
Yeah, you gotta clear those noties first thing in the mo. And that was just setting up my day, as just capstoning my day. I go to bed worrying if people like me and wondering if I'm good enough, and then I wake up in the morning wondering if anybody likes me or if I'm good enough. And I had to just put my phone in another room. And ever since I've been doing that, I've got about a week in, so we're still getting good at it. But I literally bought a cheap alarm clock off of Amazon, and it's like been so much better just having that boundary of turning my notifications off, and not subjecting myself to those dopamine rushes of likes and retweets has been really helpful for me. That boundary, so far. Let's see. I'll keep it going.
I actually did that for a while. I still have it, but I've gotten better about it. But I had a phone box, so I actually charged my phone and put it into this like little box, and then so at night, like the phone goes in the phone box, and it goes away until the morning. So that was another way that like I didn't check it, but I ended up just like, now it's just a box in my room. So like it lasted a while, but maybe it'll work for someone.
Yeah. That's it. And it takes constant vigilance to be good at it, because the thing is so intentionally designed to keep your attention.
Yeah. Actually, I remember what happened. The pandemic happened, and then the phone box went away. I was like, well, I got to make sure that which doom's coming for us right now.
Yeah. And I will say, you mentioned earlier, Twitter, finally started not having people, certain individuals, on their platform. And
yes.
I used to like literally wake up in the morning and check Twitter, partially because I wanted to see what sort of events were happening in the world because of certain people's tweets. And that was like a regular thing that I was doing, was like, are we going to war? What's happening? I also no longer have to navigate that right now, which is great.
It's great. Yeah. I was like, this was the right choice. I'm sorry. I'm happy I don't have to see this. This was bad on my mental health.
Oh yeah. No, it was very anxiety inducing to have to feel like if I don't look at it, I might be missing something.
Right.
On top of the normal social media. Oh gosh, if I'm not looking at this, I might be missing something. Now it's on a global scale. I might be missing something. So
yeah, no. Yeah.
And now we don't have to.
Boundaries, delete, bye.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that ends this part 2 of this conversation, but I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched, and thank you to both Adam and Holly. We're going to do some outros now to make sure you know who you've been watching, and then we'll say goodbye. We'll start with Holly this time.
Hi everyone, again, I'm Holly. Holly Conrad on Twitter and wecrowinghens everywhere else, and Commander Holly on Instagram. This become yeah, you can find me making stuff and playing D&D. Strix on Acquisitions Inc. And yeah, just let's make social media a better place. Let's try to do that. Yes. Even if we're not perfect, nobody is. It's okay. And get therapy.
Get therapy and make social media kind. Those are the 2 takeaways.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. And Adam.
My name is Adam Davis. You can find me on social media at Sparks for Sharks on Twitter. Please follow me. Please follow me.
Need those noties.
Give me those noties. And you can follow GameToGrow at GameToGrow and find out more about GameToGrow at GameToGrow.org.
All of the GameToGrow.
All of the GameToGrow. We're on all of them. And I check them all. So give me those noties.
And I am Fenway Jones, also known as Fenway the Team DM on Twitter, or Jasper's Game Day on all of the social medias. Thank you for watching this episode. I hope it has given you some helpful insight, or at least some entertainment value, getting you away from that social media for a little while. But always remember, 1, you are not a critical failure, and 2, you do not have to roll initiative alone. So thank you so much. Bye.